You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
You know what I'm kind of upset about this morning? That no one warned me that there's going to be a cold front hitting South Florida. Got up this morning to take the dogs out again. 48 degrees. It was freezing cold. I had to I literally had to go up and get the jacket because, and by the way, it's the first time I've ever worn a jacket in Florida, especially South Florida. Who in the world would have known that it was going to get so cold? But it has. It's gotten really cold. And life is good. Life is always good. And it's important. It's really, really important. I was thinking the other day that when I lived up in South Carolina, about this time of the year, the clouds would come in, it'd be about 30-some degrees, and we just sat there waiting for the snow to come down. And sometimes it did come down. Sometimes it came down, but it didn't come down very much. Maybe 2 or 3 inches. That's about it. Last of the day. But in South Carolina, that's a huge snowstorm. Not like when I lived in Spokane, Washington, as a kid. We used to get 6 feet of snow. And we'd have to tie these ribbons on our antennas, our car antennas, so that we could see somebody coming around the corner. It was a different way of life then also. But there's nothing better than a snowstorm. I don't know if you've ever been in one, but when you sit there and you're outside and the snow's coming down and it's so quiet. It is like nothing else is happening in the world. It's just this snow coming down, and it's very, very quiet outside. And it's very beautiful at the same time. In South Florida, when it gets this cold, the big old lizards fall out of the trees, and we have to warm them up so that they come back to life. That's the only thing that falls out of the sky here. We don't get snow, but we get those iguanas that they get so cold that they just literally fall out of the trees, and sometimes you see them in the road, and sometimes you see them on the lawn. And sometimes you see them up in the trees trying to get warm because of the sun shining down, and that's the only way they can get warmth is by sitting up in a tree. But other than that, we don't have snow, but we have falling falling lizards. Listen, a lot of you have children, and a lot of you are going to go through separation. And some of you may have had children out of wedlock, and you're not quite sure exactly what to do. And I'll discuss one thing first, and that is when you're going through separation that may lead to divorce. In separation, you may be going through counseling, therapy, marriage and family therapy, or you just may be planning for the time where you literally file for divorce. So that's the separation time. So when you're going through that time, you need to put together a separation agreement. That separation agreement is really an important document because it also has a parenting plan in there. And it tells you exactly what's going to happen, who's going to take care of what, who's going to pay the bills, who's going to contribute this way, who's going to take care of the children, who's going to have the children on the weekends, who is going to have them on holidays. Sometimes separations go 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So you need to have a plan so that everybody understands what the rules are. And then you have the other situation where you may have had a child with a boyfriend, a girlfriend, and you want to see your children, but you don't know how to go about setting some rules. Well, you can put together a parenting plan, and it's good that you hire a mediator to do that because they are trained of putting together and asking the right questions, putting together the right situation and the words that go along with it, to develop a parenting plan between both parents, because either if you're going through separation, divorce, or if you're just separated from the child because of you're not married, there are ways that you can have this great parenting plan put in place so that it's fair to both sides. Now, you don't think it's fair because a lot of the times you're sitting there and you're angry, excuse me, and you're upset, and you want to get back at the other person, and you have all this animosity, and you forget about the whole point of putting together a parenting plan, and that is to be a parent to a child or children. That's the whole point. When you have those children, you took on a contract with each other to take care of those children. Sometimes I think that some of you have more love for your dogs than you do for your children, because you're so worried about the dogs, the pets, and who's going to get the pets, but you won't sit down rationally and lovingly as a parent and focus on the children's need through a separation or a divorce or living apart. Okay? This is very important. So listen, if you are single, but you've had a child with somebody else, put together a parenting plan. So what is in that parenting plan? Well, there's a lot of things that you should really consider. Let me bring up my list here because I just wrote about this yesterday in my blog. Un momento, por favor. So what do we look at when we're looking at the parenting plan? One, we're looking at the custody of the child and also the decision making. Okay? Who's going to make the major decisions for this child? Who are they going to live with most of the time? Who's going to be the custodial parent? Who's going to be the non-custodial parent? Custodial meaning the most time that child lives with that parent. So this is a decision-making process at this point on the custody and the decision-making of that child's life, okay? Who will have the legal custody? Will it be a joint or just one individual? The primary physical custody, day-to-day decisions, major decisions. Who will be responsible? It answers what will happen when the child is with a parent and something happens, such as an emergency, and there needs to be a decision made. Who's going to make that decision when they're in the care of that child? So all of that is discussed and agreed to when you put together the parenting plan. Then you have what is called parenting time or visitation schedules. So this is where you decide on when the parents will have the child or children, where the children will be at, picking up the child and dropping them off, what days, weekends, etc. Holidays, we even discussed holidays, major holidays, and vacation periods, odd even years. There's a whole bunch of decision making that needs, excuse me, stupid cold, that needs to happen when you're making the decision for how you're going to take care of this child living apart, but making sure that the child has consistency in spending time with his mom and spending time with his dad, okay? And then you also talk about the transportation arrangements. You talk about schedule conflicts, how you're going to handle schedule conflicts. The most important thing that I talk about so diligently with the clients that come before me, communication. Communication and access to that child and how you communicate with that child and also how you communicate with the other parent. We set some rules on what can be done so that the other person, when he has that child, feels that he's not being stepped on by the other parent, always trying to get more information out of what's happening with the child. Communication is so vital when it comes to raising children and also when it comes to taking care of that child. It's one of those situations where sometimes both people are so angry, so hurt, and they want to beat up on each other as much as they possibly can. And they use these children as weapons. That's why you have to have this parenting plan, so that there are a set of rules that each parent is using. And they're both doing it the same way, or as close to the same way. And they're both communicating with this child and also communicating with each other in a consistent way. Communication is so important. Now, some of the things that I've seen and heard from you guys when you sit before me is that your communication process stinks. It literally stinks. So there's got to be some rules set on how you communicate with each other. Otherwise, the situation gets worse, and the child doesn't know in which direction to go. You're setting a bad example for that child. And if you're saying bad things about the other parent to that child, what do you think that child is supposed to do? He's so confused. And pretty soon, and I understand why some of these children think that they're the reason for the divorce. Because of you parents. Your communication process is so damaging that it hurts that child. So in mediation, we really focus on the communication process because we're looking out for the welfare of that child. I don't care about you two, okay? I really don't. I don't care about both of you. But we're going to work out a fair agreement because you have a child or children that need their parents and need responsible parents. The other thing that is discussed in these parenting plans is child support and how we get to that number and what is needed to take care of those children. There are so many other issues. Sometimes when I see parents that are so angry at each other, I really do, I say, you know what? I think you need some counseling here. Because if you don't get this counseling, if you don't get your communication process cleaned up, you, both of you, it's not just one-sided, it's both of you, will do damage to that child. So we need to do better when we're separated, when we're apart, when we haven't really married, but we're trying to take care of this child and act responsible and everything. The communication process has got to be civil. And it's got to be considerate of the other individual. And it's got to be lovingly considerate of the child or the children that you're responsible for. Now, in the parenting plan, we talk about a whole bunch of other things. We talk about who's going to take care of the health insurance, on the co-pays, the 50-50, on vacation schedules, not on vacation schedules, on vacation costs, or maybe they're going for a soccer thing for the summer. Who's going to pay for that, or who's going to pay for the Little League baseball? I mean, there's a lot of different things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to decide on how that's going to get paid for. And each parent has got to be responsible for that child extracurricular activities. So parenting plans are so very important. I tell you, I've seen some of these children where they get so scared of what's being said going back and forth. And pretty soon there's anger that builds up on the parent's side. Words are said, or actions are taken. And the children are sitting there and they don't know what to do. Older kids have said, can we go to counseling? And we've talked about that in the mediation. Can we get these kids into counseling? Because they feel as though they are being attacked. Even though you're not attacking them, you may not be saying any words to them, but it's the attacking of their dad and the attacking of their mom. And hearing the words and the nastiness that goes around and about and upside down and forwards and backwards, all zooming around this child. Sometimes they need to talk to somebody just to get it off their chest. Sometimes to get the frustration off. Sometimes the words are just so harmful that one child doesn't want to go to the other side, to the other parent, because they don't know what to expect from the stories that you have told them and circled around them. It's so very important when you separate that you stop being vindictive towards each other because there's a child involved. Those words you can never take back. Those mean words, those nasty words, those vindictive words, you can never take them back. But you know what? In the mind of a child, it sits there and it goes around and around and around. That word is stuck. Parenting plans are so very important. When you're separating, getting a divorce, or if you are living apart as single individuals that had a child together, that parenting plan is so responsible. It's an action that you need to take. It's an action that you need to do in order to make sure that that child is taken care of. Wouldn't you know it, right when I'm doing my podcast, my gardeners come and decide to do gardening outside my window. So if you hear lawnmowers going on, they decided right now to come and do my yard. I hope an iguana falls on them. They should have known I'm doing a podcast at this time. But listen, if you're in that situation where you need to have parenting, let me know, because I'll be more than happy to sit down and mediate that with you. If you need a parenting plan, let's do it, okay? Be a responsible parent, be a loving parent, be a caring parent, and make sure that both of you, even though you're mad at each other, both of you have the responsibility of taking care of those children. So let's do it with a good parenting plan. Listen, if you want to talk to me, if you want to send me a text or ask me a question, leave a comment, send it to 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Go to my website, www.lodge-co.com, and learn what I do during my day job. Listen, this is Mike Lodge. I want each and every single one of you, if you're a parent going through a divorce, going through a separation, or you're living apart from the parent who you had a child with, let's talk about getting a parenting plan put in place. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. God bless. Bye. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. Talk with you soon. God bless.